Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Today is the second webinar and film screening in a series of short films that we've done highlighting the role of religious actors in the global development agenda. My name is Caleb. I'm from KAICIID. I work in the communications department. I'm a photographer and multimedia storyteller, and I, along with my colleagues Christine and Anya, helped put these films together. And so we're very proud and very happy to be showing these to you all. The webinar today will be recorded and later published on the KAICIID website and YouTube. So in case you want to share it or watch it again, or if you have connectivity issues, this will be published hopefully this week. And at the end of the webinar, we will post a very short evaluation form. It would help us very much if you would participate in filling this out. It will take a minute or two, and it'll help us just come up with and deliver better and more meaningful content for everyone who's attending. So that would be very helpful if you could take the time to fill that out. Before we move into introducing our speakers, I'd like to talk about, firstly, the chat function, which right now we would ask you to introduce yourself and talk about, firstly, say your name, where you're from, and in which community you work with, or what community you are a part of. And that would help everyone kind of get an idea who's here and would help us get to know you better too. So thank you very much. And so now we'll start by thanking our panelists, our two panelists, well, three in total, one maybe joining later. Firstly is Ravi Singh, who is currently not part of the webinar, but he will join hopefully later. He's a British Sikh humanitarian and founder of the international nonprofit aid and relief organization called Khalsa Aid, who we are profiling in the film today. Next is Ganganandini, who is the Director of Implementation, Integration, and Communication for the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance. And finally, Jeffrey Manasseh. He is the Country Coordinator at the United Religions Initiative, a Technical Advisor of the Wildlife Natural Resources Conservative and Rehabilitation Trust, and Southern African Interfaith Youth Development Officer, and also a KAICIID Fellow. And so today, our film and discussion will center on humanitarian efforts and creative initiatives in promoting and enabling access to clean water and sanitation. Today, more than ever, access to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene is fundamental to fighting the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and as well as preserving the health and well-being of millions of people around the world. In total, 2.2 billion people lack access to safe drinking water, and 4.2 billion lack safely managed sanitation services. Lack of clean water is one of the leading causes of death in children under the age of 5 around the world, which makes it one of the biggest humanitarian crises we have ever faced. According to the UN experts, availability and access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services is fundamental to fighting the ongoing virus and preserving the health and well-being of millions of people. The ongoing pandemic will not be stopped without global access to safe water for people living, especially in vulnerable communities. It's with my very enormous pleasure to announce the launch of our second video in the series on Global Goal 6, which is clean water and sanitation, protecting our most sacred resource, which we have filmed with Khalsa Aid in Malawi.
Ndeti nditapu imodzi yomwe singakwanise kupasa madzi ana sukulu yonseyi chifukwa chakuchuluka kwa ana amene atili nawo pano. Chifukwa pakali pano tili ndi ana okwana 7,000. Lamulo limanena kuti pa hygiene pazikhala madzi, mwana akachoka ku toilet asambe m'manja, koma zonsezi sitimakwanirisa chifukwa choti madzi tinalibe. Sukulu imeneyi yakhala ikusaukira madzi apa mjigo nthawi yayitali kwa zaka zambiri.
Khalsa Aid was formed in the UK in 1999 by our current CEO, Ravi Singh. We're a faith-based organisation also specialising in humanitarian relief projects. We currently work in Africa, Middle East, some parts of the Caribbean, Also, some of our biggest projects in Asia, specifically Punjab in India. We've done 27 hand pumps so far and 1 solar-powered pump in a school just outside of Blantyre. I think these water projects are so important is because water is such a vital part of human life. No life can survive without water. And just to give basic human need to people is such an important thing.
Ana mbuyo omwe analibe madzi akumwa. Olo wophikira phala pano panalibe. Koma pano vuto losero latha ana kupeza madzi akumwa kumasamba kuchoka ku toilet. China chilichonse chikhala chili malo chofuna kugwiritsa ntchito madzi. Ndipo sakuthandiza ana asukulu wokha.
The reason why we're going for more solar-powered pumps is because it provides a more sustainable source of water. With hand pumps, you get, during the summer months, the water can become quite shallow and therefore is very difficult to get water. Whereas with solar pumps, especially in the African region that we work in, there's so much solar energy, and to harness that power to gain water is such an important aspect.
Our religion, as we know that it is the main focus is on how to serve the humanity. We believe in that, yes, when you serve the humanity, it means your part of the religion is done, you have done your contribution.
Jigoso na bwere tine ni mavuto ambiri. Timazuka filiko loko kumakasaka mazi mitunda itali. Konse kuma mizina yake kukwera muna kuphiriro. Chakunteya kuna kwake uforest. Timavutika amene kuja kumakapeza anzathu. Afe akandi zidebe. Timavutika kulana asambe mwachangu azipita school. Ndipo lokuchapa timavutika kwambiri lokumwa kumene nthawi zino. Muna cha mawani cha mamaji ja kumabwera nthawi zino kumazi. Pero imozi.
Tinali mavuto muzi mwa Ntambo kamba kusowa mazi ana amasegula mimba komanso ena amamwalira koma kamba obwera kwa ntanyadira vuto limene latha ndithu la kuvuta kwa mazi takunyadira na alendo athu azimayi athu amakatunga mazi madera atali njigomene usanabwere.
Khalsa Aid has chose Malawi. They did not choose that who is belonging to which religion. They just came to play their part to help someone, which in our religion is taught that you have to help someone. You will only take a sword to fight, not for yourself, but to save someone. So water is playing the same part. If you are trying to save someone's life, it means you are providing water.
Thanks everybody for watching. Again, it was a very interesting and very exciting film to put together. And it is available on our YouTube channel. Or if it's not now, it will very soon be, in case you would like to watch it or share it. So yeah, thank you very much. And next we'll be moving on to our panel discussion, which will again center around humanitarian aid and clean water and the involvement of religious leaders and FBOs. I want to thank everyone for participating, because the questions we'll be asking have come from the participants and from asking all of you what you would like to hear from our panelists. And so therefore, we will start with Nandini at the Global Wash Alliance. And the Global Wash Alliance is the world's first ever international interfaith initiative, which brings together the world's faiths as allies around clean water and sanitation. GIWA, or Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, ensures that every child around the world has access to safe, life-giving water, sanitation, and hygiene. Nandini, you have actually shown some very clever ways to get people involved in sanitation initiatives and to raise awareness. What we found particularly interesting was Wash on Wheels and the Toilet Cafe. And therefore, we wanted to ask you if you could tell us a bit more about your creative process and creative awareness or creative ways of raising awareness that have worked for your campaigns and would have worked particularly well. And we'd like to hear more about your process, about how you get inspired and how maybe you might advise people who need tips or ideas when they want to mobilize people for their initiatives, especially if it's with clean water or sanitation issues. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Caleb. Are you able to hear me? Great. So thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction of GIWA. And I was just listening to you and thinking that we probably should say strives to ensure access to clean water and sanitation to children everywhere, because that is a really big goal that is something that we are definitely trying to aim for, but just our humble efforts in trying to ensure that that is a possibility for every child to have clean water that they need to not only survive, but to really thrive. And what you've mentioned, Raviji, welcome to the panel. Nice to see you. So, as you mentioned, there's a lot of innovative ways that we are trying to bring the conversation of sanitation and hygiene into the arena of faith. And as you have rightly mentioned, there are this Wash on Wheels and Toilet Cafe, and I'll share a few other innovative approaches so that you can kind of get an idea. But I think when you mentioned like what is our creative process, and I think it really is the leadership of GIWA that guides and inspires us to take this work forward and to be innovative in our approach. And it's Puja Swamiji, who is the Puja Swami Chidanand Saraswati ji, who is the founder and the chair of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, whose vision really is to bring faith into action. And when you talk about peace and you talk about the definition of peace, traditionally we talk about, and this is something that our Secretary General also, Dr. Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati ji, explains so beautifully. And I think it's the core tenet by which all of this work comes forth, is that this definition of peace for faith has always traditionally been seen as the absence of war or violence. And actually, when we're looking at the numbers, when you have 1,200 children dying in India every year, between 1,600 to 1,200 children dying every year due to lack of access to water, that is a big, every day due to lack of access to water, that's a big number. And so how can we talk about peace when we are not able to provide access to water and sanitation and hygiene? And so that was the core foundation in which we brought faith into action for water and sanitation hygiene, because this definition of peace must expand so that we have access to the bare necessities of a human birth. And not only to ensure that children, like I said, survive, but that they're actually able to thrive, because lack of clean water is what creates malnutrition in so many children across the world, and particularly in India. And so this access to water and sanitation is a basic, fundamental, core essence upon which education, upon which health, upon which all of these other things get built upon. And so that's what drives us to bring faith leaders together in this unique interfaith initiative for bringing all these faith leaders together for water and sanitation hygiene. And some of the innovation actually comes from these faith leaders, because they think about, okay, how do we take faith and bring it into WASH and bring it in such a way where it actually inspires people and brings in innovation even to spirituality, brings in innovation to religion, and brings in innovation to sanitation, so that both of these can intersect. So I'd love to share a PowerPoint and some videos so we can see some of the initiatives that we've been doing and get some more inspiration for people who have joined this panel and who'll be watching it later as well. Just give me a sec. So I'm going to quickly go through the intro because Caleb did such a beautiful job of introducing Jiva already. If we can actually just play the first video, we can go with the first video to Lena. That would be great. And this first video illustrates the work that Jiva has been doing as a broad overview.
In 2013, the vision became reality as the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, or Jiva, was launched by UNICEF at UNICEF World Headquarters under sponsorship of USAID and the Government of Netherlands. Jiva's message reverberated across India and around the world, bringing together hearts and hands for its noble cause. Countless leaders joined forces on the ground level. On the ground level, Jiva is spearheading constant change. Jiva added purpose to the piety of the Kumbh. It reached out to the masses with a call to action to cleanliness, health, hygiene and harmony. At the heart of its messaging were water protection and preservation, as well as women's empowerment and upliftment. In partnership with Water Supply and Sanitation Collaborative Council, or WSSCC, UNICEF and other organizations, Jiva organized the Summit of Grace. This brought leaders, women and men, united together to end taboos around menstruation and child marriage, and led prominent personalities and masses of citizens to take a pledge against the social evil. Jiva has initiated for change in so many cities and states across India over the years.
I must mention the contribution of Swami Chidananda Saraswati ji. Without his contribution, this would not have been possible. For making Gangasagar Mela, Swamiji and his team of committed volunteers and saints was of innumerable help.
I have seen this was health and hygiene, but I can see as we went along, it became a 3H program: health, hygiene and harmony. All the faith leaders now working together. And in the 21st century, if any music is needed, any mantra is needed, that is mantra and music of togetherness, oneness and allness.
The impact of Jiva has been phenomenal. And you know what's amazing? Jiva means life. And when we first founded the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and gave it the acronym JIWA, we did so because we knew without clean water, without improved sanitation hygiene, without a protection and preservation of our planet, there is no life.
It's also important to recognize that faith can move mountains, it can do swachhata in a very effective manner. And I think this interfaith alliance in particular, bringing all religions together, is extremely powerful.
In India, where hundreds of millions of people aren't using toilets, a new paradigm of learning has been created. Here at Jiwa's Secretariat of the Parmarth Niketan is the World Toilet College, offering courses in classrooms, in halls and in the field. The World Toilet College not only educates, it motivates. From this comes Jiwa's Women for Wash initiative, where women from humble backgrounds are making huge efforts, learning how to build toilets on their own to ensure clean and healthy communities. Water School is inspiring a new generation to become champions for a water-secure future. Jiwa is committed to harnessing the power of technology and innovation to bring about a Swachh and Swasth Bharat, turning sewage points to selfie points with special water filtration technology, installing decentralized sewage treatment plants at Parmarth Niketan and providing clean drinking water.
हमारे जज्बातों में, हमारे दिमागों में, हमारे दिलों में सदैव एक ही ख्याल रहता है कि किस तरह से इस वतन को चमन बनाए रखा जाए, किस तरह से इस वतन में अमन बना रहे।
हम एक साथ कर नहीं सकते, तो स्वामी जी कहते हैं हिफाजत तो एक साथ कर सकते हैं।
सारी संस्थाएं मिलकर, अगर हम मिलकर एक काम करेंगे कि हम पेड़ लगाएंगे और पेड़ लगाकर केवल अपने लिए नहीं बल्कि परिंदों के लिए भी सोचेंगे। सबसे बड़ा वरदान है इस समय कि हम अपनी धरती को पर्यावरण से युक्त बनाएं, प्रदूषण से मुक्त बनाएं, सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक जो जहर है उसको धीरे धीरे बंद करें।
और आइए अमन एकता हरियाली की इस यात्रा में हम इस वतन को हरा भरा बनाएं, हरियाली भी आएगी, खुशहाली भी आएगी।
हिंदुस्तान,
हिंदुस्तान, हिंदुस्तान।
So I feel like the videos give you a sense of the culture and the context in a way that, you know, words just aren't going to be able to do. And some of the initiatives that were mentioned in the videos in terms of when we talk about innovation, the World Toilet College also, Caleb, is one of the first World Toilet College that was formed here at the ashram. And we offer a number of different courses and classes for everyone. And we've trained so many people who are now actually building toilets, who are doing such amazing work in the field. We also have the Wash on wheels, which you mentioned, which are these trucks on wheels, and they go into the villages, into the communities, and they open out, and we do puppet shows and dances and films and quizzes and lots of interactive activities to bring the communities together in villages, in rural areas, and to make the conversation around sanitation really lively. We also have the Women for Wash, which you saw in the video, which are women who are trained mostly in the World Toilet College, but also the World Toilet College goes to them. And we do trainings in the field, and they learn how to become masons. And, you know, traditionally in India, the masonry work is done by the men. And so it's really beautiful to see women be empowered with livelihoods to be able to not only earn livelihoods, but also clean up their communities. We have the Ganga River Institute, which the River Ganga is the largest river here in India, and it's a national river with a lot of reverence and a lot of love. People hold the River Ganga, and we did in the institution all kinds of research and studies and courses and classes. There's also the Water School Initiative, which we bring in the education of why actually water is important into our schools, so that we actually have guardians and champions of water in our schools and raise children to be aware of that. And then, of course, the Interfaith Humanitarian Network, which is, again, another interfaith initiative that brings together interfaith leaders for humanitarian efforts. And as you know, a lot of times of crisis, one of the biggest things that is missing is access to clean water and sanitation. And so the Interfaith Humanitarian Network has a special emphasis on ensuring that there are clean water and sanitation facilities in areas of crisis and at times of crisis. And as you mentioned, toilet park and toilet cafes. And so I wanted to share a few fun pictures of our interfaith leaders from a beautiful initiative we had with His Holiness the Dalai Lama at the Gandhi Ashram at the turn of the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's birth anniversary. And so this was an initiative where we had His Holiness come, the President of India come, and faith leaders from all across India come. And one of the first things they saw was our toilet park and our Kumbh Mela, which is the world's largest faith gathering. You know, 84% of the world, as per statistics, prescribes or subscribes to a faith. But in India, the numbers are greater. And our biggest gatherings, our biggest public gatherings are actually the Kumbh Mela. And in the Kumbh Mela, we decided in the city of temples, we would bring toilets, and we would have toilet cafes and toilet parks, and we would have chai on the toilet seats. And it was a wonderful way of breaking the ice, and it really hit a lot of media conversation around it, and people would actually come to the camp sometimes only to see the toilet cafe. And so that was a beautiful initiative that we adopted from the Gandhi Ashram. We also inspire faith leaders to adapt these messages so that they become unique to them. And so one of the things that Pujya Swamiji has really been able to inspire is this slogan of from temples to toilets, because he himself has been involved in building lots of temples all across, you know, so much of his life. He's done that. And when he turned 60, he said, now I'm turning my life from temples to toilets. And so now he's been involved in building lots of temples. And one of the things that he says, you know, sanitation and meditation must go hand in hand. And so that kind of slogans, those kind of messaging really help us bring faith into the conversation around health, hygiene, and harmony. And the 3H program, which he mentioned, we also saw the Haryali Yatra, and a lot of it was in Hindi. So I'm going to really quickly just mention that it was actually a very beautiful initiative in which we brought together 1,000 madrasas, gurukuls, gurudwaras, railway stations, public locations, and our faith leaders. The head of Parmat Niketan, the founder of Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, joined the largest Muslim organization in India, the Jamiat ul-Mahind, Maulana Mahmood Madni Sahab, who is the Secretary General of Jamia. And Pujya Swamiji traveled all the way from Rishikesh to Delhi by road and stopped over 30 locations. They also went to Gujarat and Rajasthan and planted trees in all these places and really brought the conversation of, can we at least plant trees of love and harmony to build harmony in our communities, but also to bring water to these places that are often dry and arid. And beautiful is that Haryali, the term Haryali means greenery in Hindi, and Hari is the name of Lord Vishnu in Hinduism, and Ali is the name of in Muslim tradition. So Haryali is this beautiful acronym that we give, is when we have real greenery, real prosperity, real fertility in our nation. Pujya Swamiji says it is when Hari and Ali, the followers of Hari and Ali, can come together to protect their planet. And it was a beautiful, beautiful way, as you could see in the video, the head of Jamiat said that we may not be able to worship together, but at least we can work together and walk together. And I think that that was the beautiful message from that. So those are some of the initiatives, Caleb, and I tried to sum them up as quickly as possible.
Well, you did a great job, and thank you so much. It's a really amazing contribution, and it's very cool to see how many different initiatives you guys are doing right now, and especially in creative ideas like breaking the ice and looking to religious leaders for some inspiration for some of the creative ideas. And I found it quite interesting that you look at sanitation and hygiene as a foundation for education, for equality and development. I think that's a very, very interesting approach and very illustrative to not only the importance of the projects that we're highlighting today, but the work that you're doing, and maybe how Global Goal number 6 contributes to development. It's especially cool to see things approaching things like mass behavior change, and looking at people in their individual decisions as a part of a larger whole, and especially the projects that you guys were putting together through the water school in the World Toilet College, empowering people, especially women, for things like the bricklaying or the brick making, and for the building of the toilets. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much. And I hope that everyone that's watching either got some inspiration or had a few ideas, or maybe later can share some follow-up questions as to what kind of work that you guys are doing at GWA. So thank you so much. And maybe we'll come back to you at the end if we have time. I hope so. But for now, we will move on to Ravi Singh. And we'd like to hear more about the work that you are doing. So firstly, we'd like to comment on your work and humanitarian efforts you have been doing, you and your team have been doing, and how you're responding to different humanitarian crises or needs around the world. So Khalsa Aid has worked in countries all over the world, from Indonesia to India to Malawi and even the United Kingdom. And so we would like to hear from a humanitarian standpoint, what tips, strategies you can offer our audience from your numbers of years of experience in humanitarian aid, especially regarding sanitation and clean water, as well as to hear about how you prepare for humanitarian responses, including disasters, as well as ongoing issues. And finally, and there's a lot of questions, perhaps how you mobilize communities to support your initiative. So, Ravi Singh, once again, thank you for joining us. Very nice to have you here, and happy to hear from you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for the invite. Thank you kindly for the kind words too. Can you all hear me clearly? Is that okay? I got told I speak too loud, so I've got these tendencies to shout out everything almost, I think. Khalsa Aid, basically, you know, I'm not here to beat on drums saying, look how wonderful the Sikhs are. I'm here to say that as a faith-based organization, we are inspired by many other, we are inspired by every faith, every human being, every individual. Like in the last, talking about sanitation and water, in the last year, exactly a year ago, October last year, we were on the forefront on the Iraq-Syria border, when thousands of refugees are crossing into Iraq from northern Syria into Kurdish areas. And I remember going into the camps, which were filling up very fast. And the first thing that struck me was very hot. And the refugees were coming up to myself and Susan, who is our local Kurdish coordinator in northern Iraq. And they were asking for water. There were thousands of refugees. So when I went to the general meeting with the UN meeting, other organizations, and I asked the locals, I said, so who is providing the water? It seemed to be that sometimes we focus on such big things, we forget the most basic. There were about 10 to 12,000 people and no clean drinking water. And there was a lack of will to actually pay for the water. So we took on straight away and we commissioned 6 trucks a day, 6 tankers a day, which each tanker averaged 10,000 liters of drinking water. They would keep filling, keep coming around from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 weeks, and then also help with the sanitation. We started doing sanitary packs for the women, sanitation for the camps, even cleaning the rubbish. And that was in northern Iraq. So we work all over the world. And I think we'll mix it up a little bit. I don't want to make it a bit too black and white. You're talking about how we mobilize. This is very important. This is where I've been doing frontline aid work for 21 years. Although I'm the CEO, I love getting my hands dirty. I love being on the ground. I love being in the middle of emergency responses. So one of the key things with Khalsa Aid, what I've learned personally, which we're now implementing more and more, is that we empower local grassroots organizations, religious groups, faith groups, individuals who want to do something. For instance, Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, mosques, churches, temples. Excuse me. In these countries, they have the passion, what we call in our faith Sikhi seva, which is selfless service. A lot of people want to do selfless service, help serve humanity in their countries, but they lack funds. So let me give you an example. 2011, the Libyan crisis, when Colonel Gaddafi was being ousted, we were on the Tunisian-Libyan border. And it was a very difficult time. It was a very tough place. The camp was in the desert. And I remember just picking up the phone, making a list of all the Rotary clubs and Lions clubs in Tunisia, on the other side. And I said, can anybody help? We need a local organization who want to do something for their country and for the refugees. We have the funds. We just need local manpower and your passion. That's the key, your passion to serve, which they already have because they already joined the voluntary groups. And so a group, New Generation Tunis Rotary Club said, we're ready. So we funded the flights for the 2 people to fly in from Rotary Club to the border areas. And you know what happens in a disaster area? For many of the people who are not familiar on the front line, when you actually walk into a disaster area, first thing happens is the local businesses see you as an outsider and they put the prices up over 100%, which what that means is that the local businesses then struggle. So if I'm hiring a truck as a foreign NGO from A to B, if I'm doing it myself, it comes across that I can afford to pay extra 100%. But then if I pay the extra 100%, then the local businesses who rely on this transport, they can't afford to do it. Their business is ruined because I've inflated the prices. So we bring in the locals. For instance, a disaster in your area, we will ask you to say, can you negotiate in the front for us? That would be your job. So you will negotiate the water prices, materials, hiring transport, because you're a local guy and you want to help us, we need your help. So we always tell the big organizations, don't go in blindly, but sadly, some of the big organizations do not listen. So as a small organization, we can do a lot of sustainable projects. We can save local economies, small businesses by acting responsibly. And then when it comes to sanitation and water, like we're talking about now, Although we're originally started as a disaster response, we started development work. So we're putting water pumps in Africa. We've already put about 30 water pumps in Malawi and Zambia. In the last year or two, we're moving towards sustainable energy, solar energy, putting in solar pumps. Even now as we speak, we have a first ever request from Gambia, from Africa. And there again, it's very expensive, but they're asking for water solutions in the villages. And we're going with the solar panels. And that's what we're encouraging most of the places we're working, is to be sustainable. But the way, like I mentioned before, how we mobilize, how we work, is that I believe when I talk to someone in, say, in Iraq or Haiti, or it could be Philippines, I'm not really seeing what religion they are, what faith they are. I just see someone who's got passion. It could be a Christian, a Hindu, a Sikh, a Muslim. It makes no difference. What we learned is that if we can all work together, we can be very efficient. We can be absolutely rapid response rapidly in our work. So that, for instance, like I said, northern Iraq, we got a lot of young Kurdish boys and girls who are volunteers. So when we have a real disaster like refugees crossing, we need to give food packs, we need to give them hot meals. We instantly say we need help. 25, 30 youngsters come, they line up, they start distributing. So on one side, you're talking about sustainable project, the other, the emergency responses. But the whole thing comes under the banner of humanity. Although we're Sikhs, we Sikhs believe in well-being of all. So when we pray, we have 2 prayers daily, morning and evening, and we say Sarbat da Pala, which means well-being of all. We actually pray for the whole world, all of humanity. We don't pray for God to say protect the Sikhs. We say well-being of the whole humanity. And also our teachers, we have 10 teachers, the gurus, they teach us to recognize the whole human race as one. That is what Khalsa Aid motto is, that recognize the whole human race as one. We see everyone as a human being before we see their faith or their color or who they are. And that actually has inspired thousands of young Sikhs around the world to become members, volunteers. We have branches now in Canada, America, Australia, India. We got sub-branches like in Iraq and some parts of Africa. And it's all based on humanity and passion. I think most of the time, people don't even know who we are. They guess. They go, oh, you're from the Middle East. Are you Arabs? Are you Turkish? They don't know who Sikhs are. So we don't go to preach. I don't think many places, like we're working in Lebanon at the moment, in the camps, and also where Beirut, the blast was. We're working in Malawi, Zambia, many parts of India, northern Iraq, and we're looking at Gambia as well, the water solutions. But I don't think people really know who we are. We don't really say, hey guys, look, we're Sikh, we're wonderful. No, we say, here we are. How can we work together? So our money then goes a long way. When you make a donation, we are very responsible, diligent. We do all background checks. We don't just throw money away. We try not to use third parties anyway. We always go direct to the contractors to deal with any issues. And like the water pumps in Malawi and Zambia, we've been working, we're always trying to use local contractors to do our work. So when there's a problem, it can be fixed straight away, because we're sitting in London. If the contract's sitting on the other side of the country and there's a problem in the village will have to wait for days or weeks for the repairs. So we always say, look, buy locally, help sustain local businesses, and make sure that if there's an issue with the water pumps or whatever it is we're delivering, it can be fixed straight away. So even, we've done two very different projects, which are quite close to me, very briefly. One is called Pad the Path, which we've done in Zambia and Malawi, which is distributing reusable sanitary pads for young girls, and with packs of soap and everything. And we hold workshops to explain to each school, each class, how these reusable pads work, and that you can have sanitary pads for 18 months, and then we'll change them over again. That's the life. and you don't need to worry about any taboos. These are there for you. So we do workshops and distribute reusable sanitary pads. And the other one is we've been assisting the Yazidi women. If you're not sure who the Yazidi women are, they're in northern Iraq, and ISIS committed a genocide against this community. They sold about, I think they held about 5,000 Yazidi women as sex slaves. They struggled when they came back. So we had Project Dignity and also Planting Memories. So Project Dignity was set up in 2016. Every girl that returned from ISIS in the area we're working in, we had a record that then once a month, we will go from England with the money and the local volunteers, we will take these girls shopping. Remember, when ISIS held these girls, they had no choice, not even to eat. So we say to them, there's a shop, you can choose 5 dresses each, and we will pay for them. And they're like, absolute shock. We don't throw clothes at them saying, here you are, you take the clothes. We say, you choose. So they would come, they would choose the clothes. You can see the whole thing change, or whatever they've gone through. You know, suddenly they come from the camps into a city, they got a choice of choosing 5 dresses. And that was called Project Dignity. That was very successful. Now, in the last year or so, we set up a project. It's called Project Planting Memories. Now, the camps in northern Iraq are very dry, very arid. If you've been there, it's very hot. So we wanted to plant some trees. I thought, hang on, let's plant some trees. But then the question came, who will look after them? So then I spoke to our coordinator, Susan, say, Susan, why can't we connect each tree with the family as a remembrance of the members of the family or loved one they lost? And that way they would nurture the trees. So we planted about 3,000 trees in about 3 to 4 camps now. Each tree has been planted next to the tent of a Yazidi family who lost their loved ones. And what they do, they tie the names of their loved one to the branches of these trees. Each tree costs about $13 to $15, depending on the time of the season, the year that we buy. So you can imagine this is an ongoing project. We've done 3,000 trees, and we're going to do thousands more to bring some greenery to the camps, and remember, they can remember their loved ones, which means they'll nurture the tree and bring back some climate change and help the camps to deal with the very hot summers in the next couple of years when the trees mature. So there's so many projects going on. Even in the UK, we're doing feeding the homeless. We've got 4 or 5 places. We do hot meals, provide for the vulnerable and the homeless. That's expanding. And we're always looking at working with organizations around the world. So if any organization wish to work with us on a project, we'll be happy to look into the proposal. Khalsa Aid is an organization that believes that working together is the best policy to bring people together. And like they say, you know, when you say you break bread together, that's what we do. We eat together with organizations, with the refugees. There's no them and us. When I'm in the refugee camps on the border with Iraq and Syria, for me, the best time is when we have breakfast together. We eat what we serve, and it's the atmosphere we create. In the Sikh concept, it's called langar. Langar is a free community kitchen that every Sikh temple has, that you can come in and you can eat. There's no restrictions, no prejudices. We welcome anybody from any faith to come and eat with us. So that's a little bit about what we do, who we are, about a little bit about our faith. And I don't want to make it into a rosy picture that everything's wonderful, because sometimes it's not wonderful. We are human beings. We will make mistakes. We'll fail. But I think it's the passion. What we want to do is capture the passion of the individual to give them a chance, saying, let's go together, let's work. So when somebody says to me, hey, how can I help you? First thing I say, give me a week of your life. Give me 1 week of your life, get into a refugee camp. I'll take you myself. And that's what we've done to a lot of people who are business people, professionals. We take them to a camp, which they'll never forget. They make friends for life. They have experience which is very spiritual, and they link with us. We're not here to promote individuals. It's all a team effort. We got a great team in the forefront, teams around the world, and every individual that is volunteering for Khalsa Aid has the quality that their hearts are open to everyone. We don't judge anyone by their face. That is the key. If your heart, I don't care how professional you are, If you have prejudices, or if you cannot tolerate someone for their race or religion or gender or whatever, then you're not going to be part of us. That is not negotiable. So thank you very much once again for giving me the opportunity to talk about what we are.
Hey, Robbie, thank you so much for your contribution. Really incredible, especially sharing the specific projects that you guys had and your approach of approaching all human beings and not only eating together, but also working together. And I found that especially interesting when you talk about engaging people at the local level, not just volunteers, but also people from the Rotary clubs and the Lions clubs, and engaging them, the younger people, the next generation, by engaging them in a level of looking at what they're passionate about and bringing them in that respect. I think that's incredible. And I think that makes a really, maybe will help some people here that are thinking about, well, who could be local partners? Because I'm sure that a lot of people have had that issue when looking for local partners, or whether they want to bring in their own staff. And there's always kind of this ethics issue. And that's what we're here at KAICIID also pushing and looking forward to in the future, is engaging people at the local level, whether it's volunteers or local staff. Yeah, and so I thought that also the specific projects that you mentioned, not only the ones that we had discussed earlier, but also your work in Libya and Iraq, Lebanon, and in Gambia, the projects with the Yazidi women and the sanitary pads, and the Planting Memories project. I hope that you've inspired some people that are present. Certainly, I left a very good impression on me. And so I want to once again, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And hopefully we can have some time at the end to loop around back in case anyone else has some questions. But for now, we'll move on to Jeffrey. Jeffrey Manasseh, who is, again, a KAICIID fellow. We would look at you then talking about your work as an advisor of the Wildlife and Natural Resources Conservative. And we'd like, firstly, if you could talk a little bit about your role and your work there. In addition, then, what does access to clean water mean for your work, as well as for environmental conservation as a whole? And then finally, how do you ensure involvement of local faith communities in your initiatives, and especially in remote and rural areas?
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if you hear me clearly. Yeah, as you said, my name is Geoffrey Manasseh, based in Malawi, a KAICIID fellow and a United Religious Initiative national coordinator, but also my role is a senior advisor of wildlife and natural resource conservation. I'm taking you now to the warm heart of Africa, Malawi. I've been shown a video which touches my heart mostly. And my brother, who has just left now, he said something about Malawi. I will need your contact because we need to do so many things here. For those who doesn't know Malawi, Malawi is in the southern part of Africa. For 2 years, we have been almost the poorest country in the world. Our total land area is 118,480 kilometers square. I just want to give a picture of our land square. Coming to your question, as you said, my role as an advisor and giving some facts of Malawi, I just want to take you into four major areas, which brings Malawi into very serious, reflecting on the water issue, sanitation and hygiene. The first thing is, as titled, poor water, sanitation and hygiene. Malawi, over 20% of population do not have access of toilet facility, which is very, very dangerous. In many cases, people just use toilet like normal. If you go into the forest, you use it as a toilet. Some people, they use in the nearest rivers, and like we don't have good toilets and decent toilets, which we can regard it safe. So in this case, it has been bringing a sense of so many problems in waterborne diseases, because toilets are so much important. I got inspired with my sister who has been presented in India there. to see some women doing the toilet work there. Only 25% of population used water in pipes. Only 25% of people using the standing water pipes in Malawi. And this has been already shown that much percentage of people we use unsafe water in Malawi. And not only in local areas, but even in the cities, that's how we do. I just want to give you facts of partially so that we have an idea when I'm coming down there. And 48% of population is when they have an access of boreholes in communities. So if we go into percentage, it's less than half of population of people who are using the boreholes. And in some points behind, we have been sometime coming to consult and talking with policymakers to see how we can bring up of the figures. And sometimes, I'm ashamed to say that the setup of the boreholes has been somehow not professionally. You might see sometimes the water toilet or flushing toilet is on high graphic, borehole is on the lower side. So when you pump water from the borehole, sometimes it blinks smelling, which to us, it has a connection that we are drinking unsafe water, you know? So these kind of things has bring a lot of diarrhea in the areas. And it occurs that much of the admission in the hospital has been tallied with diarrhea because so much people use unsafe water in Malawi. We use in the liver open wells or in the Lake Malawi or the nearest lakes, whereby when I'm going down there, I'm going to present also how people they use to throw things in the water, of which we do drink the same time, you know. So diarrhea has been so much dangerous in Malawi, and if we look into under 5 child, they register a lot of death in Malawi because of diarrhea. In this case, if we go for the realistic figures, we go for 5.6 million people are not taking clean water in Malawi. Yeah, so this brings a lot of sense that in many areas, KAICIID town, KAICIID local area, KAICIID anywhere, people, we are in danger zone of using unsafe water. So partially, that was from the water and sanitation. From there, I give also a second hint, which shows that poor waste management, which also brings a problem of water, sanitation, and hygiene in Malawi. The data shows that it's only 42% of people who know where they throw their pits, their wastage in the pits. But if we look into 25.4% of people, they throw things by the road or by near the rivers or near the lakes. When I say things like this, such of these things are so dangerous. I give a quick example. In Malawi, much of our women, they use the artificial hair. I think you have been seeing something like that. We call it mesh or, you know, whatever. Now, those things, they use it maybe 2 weeks, then they take off, you know, and they do it another week, they take off. So when they take this off, normally they throw it into the rivers or near the lakes or near the open world, where people will do take water to, you know, use the same water to drink and using at the home. So this has also brings a sense of danger when we drink water and safe water in Malawi. That's hint number 2, like poor waste management in Malawi. And the other thing which I see like has bring a very big gap in Malawi is that, as you know, that in Malawi, we normally use charcoal. I think you understand something like charcoal. We don't have enough access of using electricity to cook our things or solar panels. So much of the forest has been destroyed because of the charcoal. And if we see the percentage, shows that 60% of this charcoal are coming from forest, where we do sometimes regard as source of safe water to the community. So due to this, you know, our landscape is coming so danger, because if we look into our daily needs, we need charcoal. The same time, if we look into the environment, we see the importance of trees. So we are playing on danger position in the community. So many times we have been having like advising the government, having a meeting with the forest department and other people like stakeholders. So like that, we have been doing a lot of things. Coming to my role, since I've been appointed to become an advisor of this organization, I come across to learn so many things. And it has been doing me good, because I'm also a good person looking into interfaith. So I know how to work with religion people, and how important it is to trust them, because they are also trusted already on the ground. And they are doing a lot of job with people there. So normally what we have been doing since we start our organization, we have been trying to use a double lens to screen up whatever we are doing in the community in terms of involvement of the religion people. And when I say screening, is to see how people that are not far much just depending on environment, but also bringing back to the environment. That's much of my role which I've been doing. And I've been also involved on preparing the toolkit of environmental and hygienic, on a sense that those toolkits has to be used in the like Sunday school gathering, the madras gathering, and other areas whereby so many people come together. So they have to see how can we rely on one another? How can we work together to bring back the nature? And how can we analyzing the situation of water and hygiene in the community, reflecting on education also, reflecting on women empowerment also. And the other roles which I normally do is to see the indicators of the project implemented or the project plan. Which indicators are we going to use to see that our program is going well? And muchly to see the decentralization system, to see the community people get fully involved, working with a spirit that this is what we normally do, and understand, because, you know, in many cases, to my understanding, I've been seeing that government is not drawing a clear horizontal line to show that there is a clear understanding with community people and the government side. So that's what I've been also looking into. I just want to quickly go into the project which we have been doing here in Malawi. Since 3 years now, the most important 3 things which I can point out, the first thing is to build the reusable, to build the change room of the girls. Through the assessment and the project survey, I realized that in many areas, like in eastern part of Malawi, girls are missing 7 days per month at school because of their own menstruation time. So in this time, it has been reducing their competition with boys. And we have been registered so many girls drop out school because of that. Normally they get shame, you know. So what we decided is to consult the girls to have a focus group discussion, having the stakeholder meeting with them to see what to do. And they came out to say, you know, it has been so shameful for us to go to school, since we know there is no place where we can find a very good hygienic water to clean ourselves. We don't have enough reusable pads where we can change, you know. So we involve the meeting with faith leaders around to come together and say, what should we do? Then we mobilize and having the bricks in order. But the challenge is, where can we get the money for the cement, shower, and so many things which girls might get involved, So I had to knock some doors of my friends in England and other places. Like enough, a certain family donated to build the reusable, the change room, like I can say the change room, where there is 4 spaces. And now our girls are going there, are using in many cases, and we don't have much time problem of that currently. From there, we also assess that we need also to look into the reusable pads itself, of which we managed to have the cloth, the machine to make the reusable pads and donate at least a 6-pack to each girl. Of which when they start using it, we have been following up to them to see the assessment. The first assessment shows that the reusable pads are so best for them. They really enjoy using that, but because of the extreme poverty of them, some of them they clean up with dirty water, and some of them they are using to clean up without soap, due to poverty. And because of that, it doesn't bring a good smell sometimes. So we have decided to also provide safe water for them, at least to use good water when cleaning and having all things hygienically so that they are so safe. That's one project we have been done. And the second project was to involve the policymakers. We have been doing 2 years. We call it environmental marching. We have been marching from the worship center, different worship centers, to ask the faith leaders to say, it's not time to be silent. It's time to stand together firmly, forget about differences in our faith, but we have to have concrete ideas. Then we push to the government side to ask them to see how they can bring decent toilets to us. How can they support our technology of using the solar panel? Because in Malawi, solar are somehow expensive. We cannot manage to have solar. It's very few families who have solar. So we have been marching and doing that and asking for the answers, because we tell them to say, we are the citizens of Malawi. We supposed to absorb the benefits of being citizens here, So we have seen slightly impact, but not for much, like the way we thought of to have, because the government do things slowly, the way they want to do, but not the way we want it to have happen. So that's some of the projects which we done. And from there, we thought of also connecting with a school garden and the food security in the community. Because frankly, in Malawi, so many women, they always be in trouble. As you have been seen on the video which we watched, they travel long distance to fetch water. And this has been bringing them down in many cases. So what we thought of is to look into how can we connect food security and accessible water to everyone. So at that hinting, what we thought of is to look for affordability of water, or affordable water. What I mean here is to see if we can source water at cheaper price or for free. Because in Malawi, we have some of the projects, they call it a KAICIID project. And that kind of projects, people, we used to buy water. And it depends on how many liters you buy, you pay, you do all these things. So our intention was to advocate for affordable water for everyone to get it in our area. And with that angle, what we largely did is to look for one solar panel. For example, we set up in Who's Bay somewhere, whereby we have 8 water pipes, and we ask all the community people to use that, and we set another 1 kiosk pipe for 4 pipes for only students to use. So at that juncture, I've seen much impact because a lot of people, they're using now that pump to get safe and hygienic water. And the second thing is to have accessibility of water. What I mean here is to see how many schools in Malawi getting enough water, how many hospitals they have safe water, how many churches or mosques or where people they gather in numbers are accessing water. So this has been bringing a lot of headache because we have seen that a lot of even the students have been getting unsafe water in their schools and get diarrhea. So what we did is to look into the possible way of searching water for them to get at least safety. So we did it, and we set up the water tanks in other areas for them to access potable and decent water. I just want to highlight much on getting involved of religious readers, because that's the way I think it will be well addressed. You know, the religious readers in Malawi, possibly the whole world, they have healthy connection with the donors and they get trusted with community and so many people around. So we muchly encourage the faith leaders to introduce some of the hubs or like a small organization within their faith, within their religion, who can work with us and even with the community to see how can we solve the problem of water and hygienic in the community. And from there, we have a project of planting trees with faith leaders, which we sign a program of 2 years. Like this year, we want to plant 11,000 trees, and next year we thought of planting 11,000 trees as well. So our plan was to, to involve faith leaders in a way that if I go to brace my wedding, if I'm having a wedding, I and my wife, we have to plant a tree, so that every time we see the trees, we say, okay, this is our trees we plant during our wedding, let's keep it. And we also advise the faith leaders to advise their own congregation to say, if you have a blessing of a baby, you have to plant a tree to remember your baby. Every time God bless you with a good job or whatever you blessed, you plant a tree. So that's another angle when we involve them.
Hey,
and also we
just 1 second. Once again, thanks for your contribution. We're slowly running out of time. And so if possible, maybe could you wrap it up in the next 2 to 3 minutes?
Yeah, I just have one thing to
Perfect. Great,
conclude.
Excellent. Sorry.
Yeah. You see. So, and the other thing is we muchly ask the faith leaders to be strong stakeholder in the community, to advocate for their own congregation to the government. Because if they are so silent, so many people, they are getting sidelines because there is no one who advocate for them. So we provide the training to the faith leaders, intensive training, like every month we have training and meetings, and so many times we involve them to bring so many ideas. So we work together as we keep on going. Yeah, so partially that's what I can present. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jeffrey. And firstly, thank you for all of the specific examples. I think involving faith leaders is really clear in what you said, especially in the planting the trees, where you encourage the religious leaders to, at the birth of a child or at a wedding, to plant a tree, which, to be honest, is a perfect intersection, in my opinion, between promoting environmental preservation and conservation, as well as involving religious leaders. And there seems like there's quite a lot of challenges that you're facing in Malawi, but also very interesting to see that you're using data and surveys and sharing this in order to find better ways to approach these issues. Mainly, which it seems, as you've discussed, is with safe water, which comes from pollution, it comes from contamination, and in promoting safe and clean water, you help young women and girls in school, but also helping people as a whole avoid the health issues associated with that. And once again, I'm really happy to hear more of these initiatives, and I hope that the people who are attending today can be somewhat inspired, because I think that they're quite creative, actually, and not only in how you approach the issue, but also in engaging local communities and local religious leaders. And I'm really happy to hear that you were touched by the film. For my colleagues and I, it was very close to our hearts as well. It was a great project to put together, and very good to know that it is addressing some of the major issues when it comes to water and sanitation in Malawi. And so moving on, I'd like to thank everyone for your interventions. Ravi Singh is no longer in the chat, but thank you. And thank you to Nandini, and thank you to Jeffrey. And as I mentioned before, there is a very short evaluation form in the chat. And so if you have the chance, please take a minute to fill that out. It takes just a minute or so. And I'm very sorry to be wrapping up, but we are kind of getting short on time. But again, thank you to everyone who's attending and for everyone who's been speaking. You can always engage us on our social media channels, as Christine wrote in the chat. If you have ideas, if you have examples, your own experience you would like to share, please send it to us via social media, and we'd be happy to promote it. And moving on, for the rest of the week, we have webinars on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On the 28th, on Wednesday, we're doing clean energy, mobilizing faith communities around environmental justice. On Thursday, it will be decent work and economic growth, removing barriers to employment. And on Friday, sustainable communities, ensuring safe and affordable housing. So once again, thank you to everyone who participated and who attended. And we hope to see you once again later this week. And first one starting tomorrow at 4 o'clock Vienna time, so Central European Standard Time. Thank you so much, everyone.